Today I want to show you how you can take your raw data like this in Google Sheets and turn it into this, an interactive dashboard that will speak the results that you want to find. Hi, I'm Jamie and welcome to Teachers Tech. Today I want to show you how to create your own interactive dashboard in Google Sheets, and we'll go through this step by step. Now, if you're unfamiliar what an interactive dashboard is, here's a little explanation. We're going to start with this data right here, and you have access down below in the description. You can click and follow along and make the same dashboard I am. And we're going to take this data and bring it into the dashboard. So this dashboard includes charts, pivot tables, and slicers, which are kind of like filters. So we're going to go through all these things, and I'm going to show you how quickly you can put together something like this. And then as you pick different things, this becomes interactive. So with these slicers or these filters, you can dig down and see the information specifically. This is a lot easier than looking at this. If you click the link and are following along, here's the data that we're going to be using here. You can see there's lots of data from the years 23, 24. This is of a fictional company that sells hoodies and t-shirts about superheroes. Now, the first thing I want to do is actually add another column, and I want this one's going to be called year. I want to pull the year out by itself here just to help me in filtering as I go along. So I'm just going to use a function here, and it's going to be the year function, so equals year. And if I select this, all I have to do is select the first one and hit enter, and I'm going to let autofill fill everything out. And now towards the bottom, you can see as it turns to 2024, those years are taken out of it. And this is going to help when I do some filtering with the slicers. Now let's move over to sheet one. And the first thing I want to do is change this from sheet one. And I want to change this to be called dashboard, because this is where we're going to be building our dashboard. And we're going to do some simple stylizing here. I'm going to highlight all the way to O. I'm going to merge, and you can do this a bit differently. You don't have to follow along exactly as I do it. I'm going to stretch the row height out, and I'm going to give this a title, Superhero Hub Interactive Dashboard, because that's what my pretend store is called. Now, what I want to do now is change this to a white font, and I'm going to change the background to black. And now I'm going to increase the size. Let's try 40. We're going to go a little bit more down. We'll go 35 and bold it. And let's do a center. I can change the size here still if I want to. I want to add a logo here. So I'm going to go insert, and I'm going to image. And if you don't have this, that's fine. I just want to show you, you could insert images into here as well. And I'll just grab this one here. And this will upload to Google Sheets, and I have it selected to be on top. The other option that would put it in the cell, so I can size this the way I need it and place it in. Okay, now what we're going to do is start with our slicers. On the dashboard sheet, I'm going to go up to Data, Add a Slicer. So now it's going to say select a range. You can see the slicers right here. What do I want to have it filter? So I don't want it to have dashboard here. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to move with this open. I'm just going to click on the example data tab at the very bottom here, and I need to have all this selected. So when I click in this, I don't want a single cell, but if I use Control A, it selects everything. So use that shortcut to select everything inside that range, and that is correct, A1 to H337. I'm going to go and hit OK. Now notice what happens is with the data, it will say choose a column. And the first one I want to have is the year. And this is why I wanted to create that extra column with the year. So I'm going to just click year, and I'm going to move this over here because this is where I'm going to place it. You can rearrange it to the way you want. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'll talk about how we can change the color of these later when we do a little bit more formatting. Now, at this point, I could go insert another slicer because I want to have 3, but I'm going to do a little bit shorter way. I'm going to go and just go copy, and I'm going to go Control V on my keyboard and place it again. Now I don't want to have the exact same slicer, so if I go back and edit the slicer, this time I want to have product category. So my product category is going to be between my hats or my t-shirts, and this just saves a step here. So I'm going to just align this, and I like how Google Sheets, you can see how it will snap into line here. And the next one I want to do, and I'm going to go copy slicer again, and I could have pasted multiple ones, and I did Control V all at once if I wanted to, so it all depends on how you want to do it. I'm going to go this time, edit slicer, and I want to go by state. So those are the different ways I'm going to be filtering. All these are connected to this range up here. Automating and visualizing data in Google Sheets is a great way to stay on top of important insights. But when it comes to managing projects, brainstorming ideas, and organizing workflows, Google Sheets might not be enough. That's where Taskade shines. With Taskade, you're up and running in 3 easy steps. Taskade's AI Project Studio is a game changer for productivity, allowing anyone to instantly create structured projects with AI-powered workflows, automation, and collaborative tools. Whether you're starting from scratch, importing existing files and links, AI Project Studio organizes everything into a clear, actionable plan within seconds. Do you have files to start your project from? Simply use AI with Import Files with AI. Go and grab many different types, bring them in, and you're going to see how fast you can get started. AI agents in Taskade is like having your own virtual productivity team. Really easy to create. Just go ahead, create with AI, describe the agent that you want and what it can do for you. But you can also use the templates here that are available. You need a researcher, just hit create agent. You can start chatting and you get an idea what it can do for you right away. To save time, you need to try automations. Now, you can go ahead, create the automation. You can generate with AI just from the idea, or you could use one of the templates like this one. You'll see that it's already set up with a flow like Taskade, new comment, send channel message to Slack. At each of these points, this is where you're going to need to connect to your different apps, in this case Slack, and you can go through, add the action, and send the message. And that's all going to happen automatically in the background. Generate projects instantly and boost productivity with Taskade's AI tools. Check the link below in the description to try it out today. Let's go ahead and start inserting some charts into our dashboard now. Let's go Insert and move down to Chart. And the first 3 charts we want to create are all going to be the same. And I'm going to do something similar to the slicers with copy and pasting after I have one done. It's going to be the scorecard chart, and I need to select my data range. So we click on this. I don't want it to be E4. I'm going to move over back to the example data, and I'm going to go and just select this column right here. So units sold. I'm going to click OK. So this isn't correct, and this is where Google Sheets is actually powerful because we can aggregate the columns that we chose. And just by selecting this, and look at the different options that you have over here. Some is correct what I want, but I could select others as well. This can be changed, the size of this. So just like when we're setting up our dashboards and formatting, you can grab the corners of this and start moving the handles around to get to the exact size that you would like. Now, if this closes down on the right-hand side, just double click on it and it will open back up. The other thing is if I go to customization, chart style, let's say if I want it to be this font here, and I want a title on it. So if I go to chart title and I want to call this one units sold, and I can make sure that my font's the same, maybe I bold it, and you can make all these quick adjustments to it. Now these already work with the filter. Look at this. So if I drop down here and pick just 2024, watch the number change. So it's going through and pulling the data out of here for units sold that's only based on 2024. Then I can go and select, let's say, maybe these states here, these 3 states, and if I hit OK, now it's only going to pick up for 2024 to those states. So these filters are all already working. And now I can go ahead and let's go select all again, and I can go ahead and select all again. Oops, I don't think I selected all that time, so go select all and then hit OK at the bottom. Then you're going to see the number go back. Let's make 2 more of these types of charts, and I'm just going to go Control C to Control V to copy paste. Control C, Control V. Because now all I need to do is change the column. So if I double click on this one and go back to setup, and it's not going to be the data range here, I'm going to delete this one. I'm just going to open this back up. We can delete this here and go back over to example data. Let's say I want revenue this time. I'm going to hit OK. Now, it didn't look like it changed, but if I go to example data and just come back, it updates there. Now, the other thing is, if I go to example data, notice the dollar signs weren't on this. And I want it to be formatted with currency. So I'm just going to highlight these 3 columns right here and just click on that. So it's all currency. And now if I go back over to dashboard, you can see that it's here. I don't want this to be called units sold. I'm going to double click on this one under customization, and I'll call this one revenue now. So just like that, you can, in this way, it's a little faster because it will use the formatting that we copy paste from the first one. I'm going to go Control C, Control V, and I want to also have profit. So I double click and I'm going to go to setup and choose my range, or my column this time is going to be the profit one, which is going to be right here, and hit OK. So again, if I just go back, example data dashboard, you can see how it updates. If I wanted to see maybe a certain state, let's go clear, and I pick California, hit OK. So we know in California that this many units, this much revenue, and need to change the name of this one was going to be profit. So I can go and change under customization, and then just move down to chart title, and we'll put profit in here. I'm going to go and move some of these around and get them organized, and then we'll create a few more charts. I moved a few things around. I made sure everything was selected again to get all the totals. So let's insert a line chart that shows revenue over month now. So just a trend line of what's happening with the revenue over all the different months. So I'm going to go insert a chart, and we're going to go and pick this one right here. This is going to be a smooth line chart. Again, you could do this differently if you want. What's going to be the data range? So if I select data range, I don't want it to be A17 because that's the cell I have selected here. I'm going to go over to my example data, and I'm going to select this column right here. So G, these are my months here. And I also want revenue. So I'm going to hold down Control on my keyboard and hit OK. And just like that, we have this chart, and this doesn't look correct at all because I need to make some adjustments in the setup. So first of all, under x-axis, I just want that to be the month here. So if I go here, I have now this month, and I want to click on aggregate, and that's looking a little better, but I need to remove some of these things as well because I just want revenue. I don't want month here. So I'm going to go and remove this one. This is looking like what I want. I see the total amounts. I see month after month. I'm probably going to stretch this out to place it underneath. The other thing I'm thinking, I want a trend line on this as well. So where you can find this is under your customization. Up top here, notice that we have series, and I'm going to go and click on trend line, and you can see the other options you have. And I'm going to change this to red, and you can play around with how you want things to look on this, but I'm just going to leave this up here as this. For chart title and axis, well, this is going to be revenue by month, and I'm going to make sure it matches my other fonts. And just like that, I have a trend line inside this where I can kind of see month over month. I can see it starting with January 23 going over to 2024. So you can size this the way you would like. So if I wanted to stretch this out across here and have this in place. Let's make this a bit smaller here this way. If I drop down, let's say on a different year now, just 2024, you can see how this is adjusting. All of these are adjusting at once. I just moved our revenue by month down a bit here. I want to insert a revenue by state here as well. So let's go insert a bar chart this time. We're going to go put chart, column chart here. That's the correct one. Let's get our data range. We don't want it to be A17. We want it to be our state. So I'm selecting the column here in A and going over to revenue. Again, you can pick different ones if you would like. I'm going to hit OK. Now this isn't correct. We need to aggregate this. As soon as we aggregate this, so if I click over here, you can see this, it looks more of what we want. So let's do a quick resize of this one. I also want to add a title to this. So if I go to customize, let's go to chart, axis, and title, and I'm just going to go ahead and put in revenue by state, make sure that we have the kind of the same format as the other ones. All right, so we have a bunch of charts in here. We're gonna add 2 more, but these next 2, I wanna do it by pivot table. For this next chart, I want to be able to compare hoodies and t-shirts and also the years. So I'm going to do this with a pivot table, and I'm going to put the pivot table right inside of here. When we're working with slicers, I find they're really finicky, and you'd want your pivot table on the same sheet that you're working with the slicers. So let's go up to Insert Pivot Table. If you want to learn more about pivot tables, I have a different video all about that. I'll put the link down below in the description. So what's going to be the range of our pivot table? Well, it's going to be the entire sheet of this first example data. And I know I can see it right here, this A1 to 337. So I'm just going to select it rather than selecting everything. I'm going to go, before I hit create, I want to create it on the same sheet as the dashboard. I'm going to hide it underneath the chart. So where am I going to put it? So I'm going to select what location. I'm going to go back to dashboard, and I'm going to place it right under here because I'm going to put the chart on top of it, but you could place it somewhere else if you'd like. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to hit create. So this is where I'm going to put my pivot table. And what's going to be in my pivot table? So for the rows, I want to have product categories. So I'm just dragging and dropping this right in here. So I have hoodies and t-shirts. And the columns are going to be the years. So here's the columns over here. And I'm going to go and get the years. Remember that column I made at the very beginning. So I'm going to put that into columns. I don't want to have totals on these, so I'm going to turn these off like this. And what are the values? You could do different things, but I mentioned units sold, so that's what I'm going to go do. So I'm going to drag this into values. Just like this, I have a pivot table. Now look at this. If I go and start filtering by category and hit OK, this is interactive, this pivot table. So if you wanted to have the pivot table as part of your dashboard, you could. I can search, as you can see, if I change by state, all of this adjust. But I'm going to create my chart now based on this pivot table. So I'm going to select all again. So I'm going to go up to Insert Chart. So what's going to be my series here? So I'm going to go over to data range and not L14. I need to select what I want from the pivot table. So I'm just going to move this over. I'm going to select this right here. I'm not selecting that top column where it says sum. I'm selecting this within here, and I'm going to hit OK. Now, this isn't quite what I want because the product category I don't want right here. So I can change that though, because use row 5 as headers. If I click it, this is what I want right here. So I have hoodies, t-shirts, 23, 24, everything's looking exactly the way I'd want. Like I said, I had troubles producing this just by using the example data and how I was showing you to create the charts. And this is where pivot tables come in handy. But remember to put them on the same sheet. So I can size this up now and place this where I would like. And I'm putting it on top of my pivot table to hide it, but you can do something different with it. Now I'm going to insert one more pivot table with the map where things are being sold. Now I want to place in a map of the United States showing me what state all my different sales are happening in and how much. So I'm going to place it here, and I'm going to go Insert, and I need to do a pivot table again, and I'm going to go and select my example data here. So Control A, select everything, hit OK. On an existing sheet, like I showed you in the last one, select my data range. I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and I'm going to select this spot right here and hit OK, and let's create. So here's my pivot table. You can sort of create this with just doing it the first ways I showed you to create charts, but it didn't quite work perfectly. With the pivot table, it does. So now I want to take the state and I'm going to bring it down into my rows. So that's what I want there. I don't want to have total, so I'm just going to check this off. I can also add my values this way rather than dragging. I'm going to go with units sold. You could pick something else if you would like. So here's my information now. I'm going to chart with this. So I'm going to insert my chart. Don't want a pie. I want to drop down, and it's going to be, and I'll show you jump back and forth between them. Let's start with the markers. Right away, I can see as I hover, and it's showing me the right amounts as I go through each one. That's a little small. I want to focus, so if I go to Customize in Geo, drop down and go to the United States, this is a better way to see it here. So I can go and customize the colors. I'm not going to worry about that with here. If I go back over to my setup and drop down, And I'm going to show you the other map. So as I click it, then this is kind of what I want here to show the states like this. It still shows me the correct numbers. So at this point, I can size this, place this just like I did with the other charts. I can stretch it out to fit it. So now if I was going to go through and filter any of this information, so if I was looking for a specific year like 2023, everything adjusted right here were the totals. Everything on this interactive chart, interactive dashboard has changed based on what I'm asking for. If you want to do a little bit more style customization now, what you can do, I'll give you an example. If I highlight, let's say behind here, just those cells, I can go and color those cells and you can adjust what you want. I can go and change the color of these. So if I go back to Edit Slicer, Customize, maybe I want this to be a white and I want the font to be, so you can just choose here, and I want this to be black, so it changes it up. So I can go through and make those adjustments. I could go through to these other colors here and make adjustments to the background. So let's say if I wanted to have we'll go with this color, and I could also change it behind here. So we can make those quick changes to it. And the other thing is, maybe you don't want the grid lines. So if I go to View and go Show, turn off the grid lines. Now this is what it gets to when I was showing you at the very beginning. So you can go through and move things around to get things exactly the way you want. But right now we have this entire interactive dashboard that's going to work from this original data over here with the use of some pivot tables. I hope you found this interactive dashboard for Google Sheets tutorial helpful. Let me know what else you'd like to learn about Google Sheets or other tech products. Thanks for watching this time on Teachers Tech. I'll see you next time with more tech tips and tutorials.